Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Regular session, Mayor and City Council meeting, 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, on your face.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we go to call to the public, with number 3, we're going to have an appointment. Number 1, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-062. An order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, appointing an interim city attorney, and that would be Montoya. Will be appointing, so I'm gonna need.
So move second.
Okay, discussion on that? Any discussion on it? Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good evening. I have a couple of questions. I know we got a revised agenda yesterday on this issue, so I didn't have too much time to look into it. Can the city manager tell me a little bit more about how the month-to-month basis is going to work? How the month-to-month, as stated here, is going to work?
We're gonna, sorry, that was loud. I think it'll work just fine. She's already the deputy city manager, so she's already city attorney. And so she's already been taking on a lot of cases. She's been filled in by Mike that is no longer with us. Month to month until the council appoints an active full-time city attorney. She'll be on, well, as far as her pay and everything like that, it'll just go as recommended by the mayor at this time, which would be the same as what the city attorney was making when he left. And then she'll go back to her current contract that she's under at this time, once that's over. There shouldn't be a problem. It's just like anything else when you have an interim or have someone take place until you were able to find someone to put in as a full-time position.
Okay. Is it going to be 5 days a week?
Yes.
5 days a week.
During the interim. Yes.
Okay, during the interim time. Okay, with an increase of salary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to clear those details for the public and myself.
It'll basically be like any exempt position. You know, she may put in 15 hours one day and the next day a couple, but she'll put in 40 hours a week.
Yeah, I know. The reason I'm asking is because I know presently it's 3 days a week she works, so now it will be full time.
Good question. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to clarify it.
Okay.
Okay. I know that in the policy, I looked up the policy here. With an increase, it states in the policy, just want to make sure we follow the policy. As an interim coming in, it states here, I don't know if I'm looking at the most dated policy, but it's with an increase of 5%. Is that going in accordance with the policy?
I think that would be under regular employees, but she's a contracted employee.
Yeah.
So it falls under a little bit different
It
situation.
does? Okay, just want to make
But
clear.
you're right on. It's 5%.
Yeah, I
If
just
it's a
want to make
regular-
sure we're following the policies of the city of Nogales.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Judge. Thank you very much for accepting the interim position.
Thank you.
Okay, with number 4, call to the public. We'll start with Granger. State your name and your address for the record, please.
And we are under address confidentiality. I'm going to get started here. When I was around 6 years old, I wanted to become a police officer when I grew up. That desire became stronger as I grew older. Then something happened. The police department where we lived at the time failed to protect me from an abusive father when they had the means to do so. My family was living the reality of one of those Lifetime movies. Unfortunately, our movie has not yet ended. As serious as our story is, and the fact that our local police department at the time acted so poorly to protect us. I did run into some good officers in another state when I escaped from Arizona, and I maintained my desire for a career in law enforcement. At the age of 14, I entered a law enforcement explorer program at our sheriff's department in our community, and later was accepted into the Customs and Border Explorer program. I had some great experiences with officers in those programs, yet it only took a couple bad experiences to ruin my desire for a career in the law enforcement and challenge my trust in law enforcement in general. I can understand why some are trying to say defund police in our country. My family and I are survivors of domestic violence, and my mom is a survivor of sexual assault. Our experience has been 99% great with Nogales PD, outstanding and excellent. My family and I have orders of protection against a perpetrator, and that order was broken through third-party contact. Our PTSD is so triggered, it has been very challenging to get a place of feeling safe. We are not there yet. We had recently to call Nogales PD to come our family residence to report the violation of the protection order. Several officers who worked with us on this have been excellent and understanding. However, we did have one negative experience recently, and Chief Roy is addressing this with the officer, so I won't name names. Imagine someone in authority telling a household full of survivors of domestic violence and a person who is a sexual assault survivor that we brought this all on ourselves, that we think about it too much. This is not a way to speak to anybody. It is unacceptable and horrible language for anyone to use, and is disappointing, especially for an officer to tell citizens of his city he is working as a cop for. I keep telling myself this is not a way for a human being to talk to another, especially those who are in crisis mode. This shouldn't have been a training issue, but merely a common sense and a humanity issue. Honestly, this single action has made me question if I can depend on our local law enforcement to really protect me and my family. We are truly hoping that this won't be a case of where the perpetrator has more rights than the victims, where the victims feel like they can't feel safe and protected by those who are sworn in to protect and serve. We can affirm, yes, we have made progress with domestic violence advocacy and protections for the victims, and yes, there is still so much more we can do. So I invite you to educate yourselves on the subject of domestic violence and to learn about the impact of the trauma for the victims. This is how we can protect and serve each other. This leads me to the issue I want to address tonight. I was recently told that a couple years ago there was only $4,000 for officer training in the annual budget. I am not sure if this is true or not. If this is true, it is not acceptable, and I would like to challenge the City Council to make sure that there is more than enough funding for officer training and development, including training on dealing with victims of trauma and the way the victims experience PTSD and how to be as sensitive to their issues. My mom just informed me on the grant money that is now available to cities like ours to address cybercrime related to domestic violence and to gain an understanding of the impact of the trauma it has on victims. These funds must be sought after and used to enhance our police department's ability to work with the victims as they investigate these types of domestic violence crimes. Police officers are first responders. They are on the front line dealing with the citizens of our city. They deserve the best training and as much funding as possible. Thank you. And I do have a grant.
Thank you very much,
from the
Ranger.
state.
Just give it to the
Okay.
clerk, please. Thank you very much, Ranger. Okay. Next will be Mary Dawn. How are you
Thank
doing,
you.
Mary?
Hi, Mr.
You
Mayor.
only have 1 minute, Mary. Just joking. I know.
I'm from Minnesota. I talk really slow. Mr. Mayor, city council members, city staff, members of the public, My name is Mary Dahl. I live at 1525 Piranha Court in Rio Rico. My sole purpose in addressing you is to introduce to you the Executive Director of the Santa Cruz Valley Heritage Alliance and allow her to take most of the time to make a presentation to the council. So I'd like to introduce Leslie Kontowitz.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Mayor Garino and members of the council. We appreciate this opportunity to address you and express our gratitude for the support you have given us along the way. As Mary said, my name is Leslie Kontowitz, and I'm also joined today by our Marketing and Outreach Coordinator, Tyler Miller. In March of 2019, the U.S. Congress designated the Santa Cruz Valley National Heritage Area to honor and celebrate the region's contributions to our nation's historical development, cultural traditions, and ecological diversity. The area includes 3,300 square miles of the Santa Cruz River watershed, from the border here in Nogales to the towns of Marana and Oro Valley north of Tucson. With more than 4,000 years of continuous habitation, it's one of the longest continuously inhabited regions in the U.S. and has evidence of nomadic life dating back 12,000 years. This past June, we submitted our comprehensive management plan to the National Park Service and Department of Interior. This visionary document, which details our goals and action plans, was created over a 3-year period in partnership and collaboration with individual citizens, public and private stakeholders, federal, state, tribal, and local governments, including the City of Nogales. As the local coordinating entity, we work with the National Park Service to become the long-term stewards of this living landscape, where ecosystems and biotic communities, historical sites, and diverse cultural traditions continue to thrive. Our responsibilities include preservation, celebration, and education through many means, one of which is interpretive installations. One of our very first projects was Las Primas, a mural here in Nogales, located at the border crossing at 112 North Grand Avenue. We commissioned this mural with Alejandra Trujillo, who was born and raised here in Nogales, and developed her passion for art in her grandparents' art studio and gift shop. Las Primas celebrates this border town's legacy of adaptability and resilience in the desert frontier. You can learn more about the mural at our website, santacruzheritage.org, and you can also download a corresponding coloring book for the little ones in your life. Today, we are thrilled to be in Nogales to install another community exhibit. The goal of this informative signage is to bring awareness of the National Heritage Area and our 11 focused experiences, which are U.S.-Mexico border culture, a vibrant ethos that continues to thrive here in Nogales. Spanish and Mexican frontiers represented in part by the Tumacacori and San Javier missions, as well as the Anza Trail. Native American lifeways, principally that of the Tohono O'odham, the Pascoyaqui, and their ancestral tribes. U.S. military posts on the border, like the original Presidios in Tubac and Tucson, and the continued presence at Davis-Monthan. The Sonoran Desert, a natural environment both in habitats and species, which attracts visitors from around the globe. The Sky Islands and their surrounding desert seas. The streams in the desert, most notably the Santa Cruz River and those creeks that feed into it. Bird habitats and migration corridors, which attract bird watchers that account for a statewide economic impact of $1.4 billion annually. Ranching traditions and the preservation of frontier ranches like Empire Ranch in the Cienega Creek Valley. Desert farming, which has seeded our unique diversity of culinary traditions, traditions that earned Tucson the first city in the U.S. to be designated a UNESCO City of Gastronomy. And finally, the history of mining booms, which fueled early economic growth and expansion. We hope visitors to City Hall will take a moment to learn about, take pride in, and experience the treasure trove of opportunities that is the Santa Cruz Valley National Heritage Area. Once again, we thank you for this opportunity and your continued support.
Thank you very much. Before we go into the proclamations under presentation, I want to present the certificate of appreciation to Michelle. Michelle R. Jaques, my assistant. Please come up. In recognition of your outstanding efforts, dedication, and contribution to the 2023 City of Nogales calendar. She created this calendar that we gave out at the Leagues of Cities and Towns, and we plan to give them out a lot more here at City Hall. Very beautiful, a lot of information, good for economic development, and a lot of the pictures really mark what our city is. So she did a great job. Michelle, I want to thank you very much for it. Michelle, let me go down to the bottom. She worked very hard on that, trying to get it done before the date when we had to go to. And she actually, a lot of the pictures have historical sites and events in the city of Nogales, and so this is going to be a nice calendar for next year. So Mary, you should get one, okay, before you go, so you know exactly what you need to do that day. I'll put it right here. Look, that's for you, Mary. You want to get it now? Do you have one? You don't have one, do you? John, could you give this to me? John, could you give me this? Okay, then we'll continue with the presentation of the proclamations. We're going to have 3 proclamations today. One is the National POW MIA Recognition, and that Councilman and past commander of the VFW will read that for us. Would you please? Sir? Thank you.
My honor. National POW MIA Recognition Day 2022. Whereas in every conflict in which our nation has been involved, selfless American service members have sacrificed their lives for the sake of our country and its principles. Too many have never come home or have endured unthinkable hardship as prisoners of war. On this day, we echo the creed inscribed on the black and white banners that fly in honor of America's prisoners of war and missing in action. And we renew our promise to our heroes that you are not forgotten. And whereas we will never give up the search for those who are held as prisoners of war or have gone missing under our country's flag. We honor their sacrifice, and we must care for their families and pursue the fullest possible accounting for all missing members of our armed forces. Together, we must serve our nation's patriots as well as they have served us by supporting them when they come home and by carrying on the legacy of those who do not. And whereas City of Nogales desires to participate in the National POW MIA Recognition Day held on September 16, 2022, and will fly the POW MIA flags at the City Hall on that date. And now, therefore, I, Arturo R. Guerrino, Mayor, do hereby proclaim participation on Friday, September 16, 2022, in observance of National POW MIA Recognition Day in the City of Nogales, and I do hereby call upon residents to join me in honoring former American prisoners of war who suffered the hardships of enemy captivity and in renewing our commitment to those still missing in action. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Will you do me the honor of giving that to the commander of the VFW so that they when they do celebrate
It'll
that
be,
day?
it'll be my honor. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you very much. B, Proclamation National Suicide Prevention Month. I asked Councilmember Hodges if he could read it. Would you do me the honor, sir?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Proclamation National Suicide Prevention Month. Proclamation. Whereas suicide is the 11th leading cause of all deaths in the United States and the third leading cause of death among individuals between ages 15 to 24. Whereas in the United States, one person commits suicide every 15.2 minutes. Whereas it is estimated that 4.6 million people in the United States are survivors of suicide, those who have lost a loved one to suicide. Whereas 50.2% of people who die by suicide use a firearm, and guns stored in the house are used 40 times more often than self-protection. Whereas an increase in the overall suicide rate in our country was seen in 2007, representing a change in the recent pattern of stability or slight declines. The suicide rate for those 15 to 24 years old has more than doubled since the mid-1950s, and the suicide rate remains highest for adults 75 years of age and older. Whereas the stigma associated with mental illness and suicidality works against suicide prevention by discouraging person at risk for suicide from seeking life-saving help and further traumatizes survivors of suicide. Whereas Prevention Coalition and the American Association of Suicidology, which are dedicated to reducing the frequency of suicide attempts and deaths and the pain of survivors affected by suicide of loved ones through the educational programs, research projects, intervention services, and bereavement services, urge that we recognize suicide as a national state public health problem and declare suicide prevention to be a statewide priority, promote awareness that suicide is a public health problem that is preventable, and develop broad-based support for suicide prevention. Now, therefore, I, Arturo R. Garino, Mayor of the City of Nogales, Arizona, do hereby proclaim September 22nd as National Suicide Prevention Month.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Michelle, will you please receive that? Just so you know, Michelle is also, she works with suicide prevention. She's been doing it for about 15 years, I guess. Michelle, más o menos. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. And C, proclamation, the National Gear Up Week. Councilman Bonias, will you please do me the honor?
It's a Proclamation National Gear Up Week. Whereas the Gaining Early Awareness and Readiness for Undergraduate Programs, Gear Up, is a federally funded competitive grant program designed to increase the number of low-income students who are prepared to enter and succeed in post-secondary education. Whereas Gear Up serves low-income, minority, and disadvantaged students and their families from underdeserved communities who might be the first person in their family to go to college, and whereas Gear Up provides 6 or 7 year grants to states or partnerships to deliver support and resources to students and their families starting no later than the 7th grade through high school and onward to fulfill their dreams of attaining a post-secondary education. And whereas Gear Up includes interventions such as tutoring, mentoring, rigorous academic preparation, financial education, and college scholarships to improve access to higher education for low-income, minority, and disadvantaged first-generation students and their families. And whereas Gear Up is built around public-private partnerships, enlisting the formidable resources of government, business, and community groups to support low-income students as they prepare to enter and succeed in college. And whereas the CCREO Gear Up program is a partnership of all school districts in Santa Cruz County, Arizona, and whereas CCREO Gear Up serves approximately 900 students in 9th grade and will continue to serve this cohort until 2025. And whereas the week of September 26, 2022 has been declared National Gear Up Week, and whereas the city of Nogales is committed to providing quality education for all students, helping them to achieve their highest potential. Now therefore, I, Arturo Garino, Mayor of the city of Nogales, Arizona, do hereby proclaim the week of September 26th as National Gear Up Week. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilor. We'll give that to, clerk to make sure the county gets that. Yeah, no, we'll go on number 6, financial monthly report. So Dickey?
Financial report will be. Sorry, the financial report will be by our finance director, Jean Molman.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. In front of you, you have the monthly report, and you also have the water and sewer report that we'll go over both of them. We'll start with the monthly report. So this is the report for July. So we have started the new year as we're trying to wrap up the old year. So it's quite exciting right now with 2 years going. At this point, after 1 month, we should be at 8.33% if you divide our 100% by our 12. So we're 1 month in. For our general fund, which if you look at your table A, for revenues, we have collected $5,730,481, which is actually 21% of our budget so far. And for our expenses, it's $2,737,880, which is 8%. Also on table A, you'll see our shared revenue. That we are right on track at 8%. We've collected $726,465. If you move on to table B, that's our local sales tax. For the month of July, we have collected $1,109,271, which is $165,084 more than July of last year. Table C is the same as table A when it discusses the general fund. Each department is broken out, and you'll see on yours, the highlighted ones are the ones that are over the 8%. A lot of those have the annual renewal fees, the annual licenses that all come out in July and August. So you'll start to see those leveling out. If you move on to table D, that is our HERF and our overweight fees. For revenues, we've collected $225,601, which is 8%. And for overweight fees, we have collected $65,925, which is 26%. For expenditures, we have paid out $134,787, which is 3%. And we have not, as of the end of July, paid out anything for overweight fees. Moving on to table E, that is our sewer fund. We have received in $319,699, which is 9%. And we have paid out $325,084, which is 15%. If you move on to table F, this is our water fund. We have received in $328,345, which is 9%. And we have paid out $733,058, which is 11%. And the final, table G, is our sanitation. We have collected $245,408, which is 8%, and we have paid out $187,802, which is at 6%. Are there any questions on that portion? Okay. Then on the water and sewer report, we currently have 6,166 active utility accounts. We have 416 that are on contract. They're either water accounts or sewer accounts, with a total of $143,998.43 on those contracts. We also have 125 delinquent accounts Those are the sewer or trash, the sanitation that cannot be shut off, so they cannot be easily taken care of. So some of those they're not on the contracts up above. Those are the separate ones. On the second page, I just listed those same 4 companies, businesses that we are continually watching. We're getting better with our businesses. They're paying more on time than they were before. For August, we did have 1 employee payout from sanitation. The total was only $78.81 of vacation time. And then I just gave you a real quick update on our business licenses. In March, we put somebody back into the field specialist position. And since March, she has found 57 businesses within the city of Nogales that were working without business licenses. So they're either now licensed or in the process of becoming licensed. They're going through the inspections with both fire and planning and zoning. Are there any questions on that part?
I have a question. On these 57 businesses that were found not in compliance, I'm just curious, what type of businesses were these? Were these like real visual type of businesses?
Some of them were, yes. Some of them were ones that were kind of like hidden within other businesses, like a lot of our warehouses have multiple businesses in there. And so they thought that one license would cover all the businesses within one warehouse, but they're actually separate businesses within one warehouse. So that was some of them. Some of them are also going to one. Then they said, go talk to these 3 because I know they're not licensed either. So the citizens have actually helped us become licensed in quite a few of our businesses.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
So you're saying if there's one warehouse, there could be like 6 or 7 other businesses in there? And who actually does the contract for the city on the sewer and the water? The main building, or each one have to open an account?
So that, it kind of depends. If it's one building where there's only 1 meter coming in, then it would be responsibility of that one owner of the building, and they could
Split it?
split it between them all. But this part is just the actual business licenses that we care if there's 6 or 7 in there.
Oh, okay.
So it'd kind of be like apartment buildings. There may only be 1 meter coming in, but the landlord would send out the water and sewer bills to all of them,
Okay.
like their portion. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it says here that they are also responsible for back fee pays.
Yes.
Owed. How can you hold them responsible for that if the city did not do their job in charging them for all these years?
A lot of it, for the most part, a lot of them aren't that old. Or they'll just come forward and say, you know what, I've been in your city since 2006 and I want to make right with the city. So I want to pay you what I owe you. That's what a lot of the businesses have. We haven't gone and said, you owe me from 2002. They've come and said, I've been here since 2002. I want to make right with the city.
But if you do tell them they haven't paid for a couple of years, how are you handling that?
So and Mr. Massey told me the ordinance, there's an ordinance that we can go back 4 years. And I can get you what that ordinance is.
I can look
That says that business-wise, we can go back 4 years for business licenses.
And do you?
For the ones that we know they've been here that long, and it's mainly because they've told us, yes, I've been here for 4 years, I've been here for 6 years, I've been here for 20 years. They tell us.
I have another question. Why didn't the city charge them all this time? Why weren't they on top of it? Is it because it's a new position this person has?
There was that position all along, but there wasn't somebody in the position for at least the past 2 years that I know of, possibly longer. He retired and the position wasn't filled, and it was filled in March.
Oh, because it wasn't filled and it wasn't, people weren't being monitored.
Right.
The businesses weren't being monitored.
Except for like the annual that automatically come up, but anything new that came in, or we didn't have somebody to go out and bang on the doors of businesses. And now we do. She's very good.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Gadias, did you have a question?
Vacation purposes, is it the responsibility of the city or of the business to make sure they have that license I know it's our responsibility to verify, but are we also responsible for making sure they do have a license once they start a business?
So when a business comes to Nogales, it's their responsibility to come to us. Like, for instance, we all know that Chipotle is going in. Chipotle contacted us months and months ago stating that they were coming to Nogales. What do they need to do to be licensed in the city? We start the process. It goes to both planning and zoning and fire, goes through their whole checklist. Once they do their approvals, then they come back to us and we issue the license. Once the license issued, then annually it just becomes renewed. But if somebody comes in under the radar that we don't know about or that nobody has told us about, that's where our position now goes out and finds those people. But it's their responsibility at first, Mr. Gradius, to come to us.
Clarification, because it seems that we're just trying to catch up, but it's not our responsibility.
No,
Thank you.
the initial responsibility is theirs.
Thank you very much. Number 7, the fuel report, Mr. Dickey.
Yes, council, this is a little interesting. It shows here, if you look at it, the departments looks like they've been doing their best to bring the usage of fuel down. If you look at almost all of them, I mean, some vary, but for the most part, if you look from even last month, they've come down. But I'd like to look back at July 21st of 2021 to today. If you go to sanitation, it's come down, yet fuel price, what we paid for the cost, you look at $10,072 with 2,165 gallons. A year ago, we used 2,560 gallons and only paid 6,356. So there's a lot of that. It just shows that the departments are doing a pretty good job of watching their fuel. Another thing I noticed is if you look cemetery, if you just point out Parks and Rec, they took over cemetery, so that might show that theirs went up just a little bit from June to July, because they are taking the cemetery department is now in Parks and Rec. Any questions? It just looks like we're doing a good job, and I think fuel costs we'll see are coming down, so it should reflect on this the next month too.
Okay. Thank you very much. Number 8, reports. A, update alternative expenditure limitation home rule, proposition 414.
Okay, we'll have Ms. Molman once again, my microphone went off, but the staff's been working really hard to get this information out, and she'll give us kind of an overview, and I think there is a paper here,
It's a one-page.
the one page.
It should be right after your fuel report pages that you got. So it kind of lets you know where we did start with our presentations here for the public. And so right now, we've collected the arguments for having the home rule. We collected them from Evan Corey and from Marcy Verona. Everything has been translated, and on Monday, it was all submitted to the publishers for printing. So in this next week, I should have that proof back, and then I will submit that to our Auditor General, and we'll be ready to go for the election in November. And we're going to have 2 community meetings here in City Hall on the 12th of October and the 19th of October at 6 p.m. So if any community members want to come and ask questions or get to know a little bit more knowledge about our home rule, I've invited both Mr. Corey and Mr. Verona to come to those to show their support. Are there any questions on that?
Will you publicize this in the newspaper?
Yes.
The community to be aware.
Yeah, I sure will.
Thank
And then it'll also be on our website.
Thank you very much. Anything else? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, discussion items. A, discussion, direction, and possible action repairs to air conditioner at City Hall.
Council,
Doing this one.
I can start it, and I'll have Alejandro if there's some questions you have, because he's got the bids that we put out for this. But as you know, in the budget for this year, we put in $100,000 for a new air conditioning system here at City Hall. And I'm glad we're on this topic because it's been going out on this side of the building the last few days. So we have 100,000 in there, and the bids that came back, and Alejandro's here to speak to them if you want more specifics, but they're in the range of between 350 and 400,000. So what we're asking council to consider, what can we consider? But anyway, if we can raise that, go into contingency and maybe get that additional amount. We can also look at other sources, but right now we're $275,000 short of fixing the air conditioning here at City Hall. I know.
Are you asking or what?
I think what we're asking is kind of direction. I mean, we can come back, we can look and see if there's something we can do,
No
but
repairs.
to put a whole new system.
That's a new system.
Yes,
There's no
like,
repairs.
there's no parts to repair. We were lucky and we were ordered, well, last spring when I first got here, we were lucky and got a part that someone found to keep us going, but it's gone out now on this side of the building. They have to open the doors and run a fan, and yeah, it's not good.
Okay.
So that's
go
where
ahead.
we're at.
Just as a question and as a follow-up, I ran into some people from Climate Tech in Phoenix when we were up at the National League Conference. And I was fortunate enough to have Mr. Dickey close by. So I took him over, and I think it was Steve or whatever the guy's name was. And we talked to him, and they do HVAC systems. They do infrastructure for parks and infrastructure in general. And we had a good discussion with him. And Mr. Dickey asked him to send him some emails and show the program to Mr. Dickey. And he said he would. I know it's short notice for them up there, but that might be a good avenue because the way the way it was presented to us, they help with the financing of the project. They do the project. They have the engineers, the architects. They have everybody that could do it, and they said they could do it cheaper than anyone else. So maybe that would be a good person. Maybe we can go contact them again and tell them, hey, we really got to get this going and get it done, and they might come in with a good bid.
He, Councilman Diaz, he reached out. I just found the email. And he wants to come to City Hall on the 22nd, 27th, or 28th of this month. He can't, or he wants to meet me up in Tucson. But we can definitely reach out. If council gives us direction to do what we need to do up to a certain amount, maybe give us a cap or something so we can get this done and get on it. We don't want to freeze anyone in the winter, but right now is a good time of the year to not have it because it's kind of, the fall. It's not hot or cold. But anyway, we need to get this taken care of.
Well, Mr. Dickey, how can we give you a cap when we don't know the cap?
Yeah, well, we do know the bids. I mean, we
So,
can cap it at the bids if
Mr.
Alejandro wants to come up and just
Let's
explain.
see what he's got. We need to know, have an idea of what the costs are before we can give you.
Mr. Mayor, good evening, everybody. When we got the money from the capital projects that we have, we start shopping around and see what we're going to take to replace the air conditioning for this building. And as you know, we have been here for several times with this issue, the air conditioning. The building is divided in two sections, one on that side of the building, the other one on this side of the building. We have been fixing that, but little fixes, just like we say, with little patches, really, to keep it going. And last week, we were talking about, I was talking to Mr. Dickey, explaining to him that we needed to get the air conditioning fixed, but the money that we had was not enough. We got two preliminary quotes. We haven't received a firm quote because they say until you order the system, we don't know what's going to be. The prices are so fluctuating, so we don't have a firm quote. We had a company out of the two are out of Tucson, but one is had more local presence here in Nogales. So we got those are in the same ballpark, $360,000. Say, well, we don't have money for that. We start exploring if we could replace one section of the building this year and maybe wait the next section of the next year. Well, happens that we were talking about that, and the next day, that section of the building went down. And I said, gosh. So the local guy came and did a fix. I got the bill today, $5,000. Just to the part that was damaged was $3,850, and then the rest was the labor. So, and that had been kind of recurring, and we're investing money every time that that this fails. So there are options that, like I say, I don't want just to tell you, okay, we have this guy and we're going to pull in and he's going to do the work. I haven't done that because we don't have even close to the amount of money that we need to get the problem fixed. So we need direction from the guys. And
Are these the original systems from day one?
I think they are not the original system. They are about 15 years old, and the chillers is what they call that. That's where they handle all the cooling and heating of the system. We have, in addition to that, air handlers that they are just the fans that they move the air inside of the building. But what the proposal is to replace the cooling system, the cooling and heating system. So it's brand new, and hopefully it lasts another 15, 20 years.
So Mayor, Council, I kind of retract what I said. I don't think we're looking for a cap for money at this time. We're just looking for direction that staff perhaps direct us to bring back a recommendation. We look at A, both systems, the whole thing, and then B, maybe one system at a time. But we have to go out and get formal bids for this. This is a big amount. So we'll try to get 3 bids and look at those and bring back with a recommendation. We just kind of want that direction, that it's going to cost more. We just don't know how much.
So both systems are same age, the south and the north?
Yeah, we were thinking on delaying that portion of the building for next year. That happens that's the one that got damaged after we were talking about it, because that portion has been more problematic than this portion. But I think part of the dilemma that we have is that there are no parts for this system. Last time, I think it was a couple months ago, that we have a problem in that side of the building. The lead time for the replacement parts was 3 months. Thank God we found somewhere, I don't know where they found a piece of equipment that we needed to replace, and we installed that as a temporary fix. But they are telling me next time that it fails, it's going to be 3 months or something like that before we can get the parts to replace, or you're going to be in an emergency and having to do the total replacement in an emergency situation.
Mr. Barcenas, are you going to be going to see if you're going to get an estimate on the whole system for the whole building, or
Yeah, the
two
whole
separate
building.
ones? The whole
That's
building?
my recommendation.
Recommendation for the whole building. It'd be best,
Yeah.
because if they're both the same age, I mean, it might as well.
Yeah, and it's not going to help that one side of the building is cold and the other.
Yes. There's always been problems.
Yeah.
You know, that not all the offices get the air, especially Letty's section. She always gets cold air. She wears a sweater in the summer and a tank top in the winter. I'm just joking. No, so yeah, I think that's the direction we should go, Mr. Dickey, is before we start talking caps, let's talk about, you get estimates on that, Mr. Barcenas. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Barcenas. Mr. Barcenas,
Yes.
over here.
here.
Over here. Oh, your favorite person. I mean, that's a lot of money that we're looking at. Who is going to be in charge of servicing the new system? The city employees or the
No, we
company
have a
or?
contract with a company. We just changed this year for the service. We had a company out of Tucson, Sunt, I think, Sun Corporation or something like that. And then we have another one that's the more local guy, and they have the one that have been helping us. The prices that they give us for the maintenance, they come and do regular maintenance and help with all the when we have damage or small things, they come and fix it. And this year we just issue a contract for them for this year.
And I have a follow-up question. I understand these units, they're old, they're like 15 years. But it just seems like everything would collapse at the same time. You know, and is that just due to wear and tear, or is this lack of servicing these units?
That's the normal life of the equipment. Sometimes, like the heating system that this building has is the original one. So it's close to 50 years. That's the water boiler that's downstairs somewhere in here. And that's part of it. We got 50 years of use of that. We got 15 years of the air conditioning. And everybody's telling us you shouldn't have that system in place because there's no part for that.
You think we still have warranty under that? All right, thank you, Mr. Russian.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Mr. Dickey, do you think it'd be worth following up with Climate Tech?
Yes, we'll include them,
And,
definitely.
You said they could be here on the.
Yeah, I'll reach out to them if we can meet them. Well, I mean, that's coming up, so we'll reach out. We'll make sure they're part of it.
And
Yeah.
the way it was presented to us, I think they're very professional. They have everything they need. Plus, they offer financing
Yeah,
and grants. Maybe they can get us a grant.
true.
He mentioned grants too. So
Yeah, we'll definitely.
I think we should include them in the bidding and see what we can get accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess it'll be a direction, John. John.
Sir.
It'll be, that's all right. It'll be just direction and for you to go after bids
I think we got direction.
from the council. All right, so let's just call it direction. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. B, discussion, direction, and possible action, Circles of Peace, Nogales Bicycle Classic in-kind contribution. Mr. Dickey.
We were asked by a council member to bring this item to see if there's additional funding for this event that's going to be going on. At this time, the city, it falls under the city's, I don't know what you call it, but where we give them 1,000, up to 1,000, anything above that is a council decision. Councilmember Montiel has brought that, so I can let her turn it over to her to, yeah.
Judge Maley, Mary Helen Maley reached out to me and told me a little bit about the history. And she said that the city, since the Circles of Peace started with a tour, the bicycle tour, they were given $1,000. And in the last 2 years, the amount had been increased for $3,000. And then they would pay the balance for the police officers. And so now she called me. Apparently, they had a meeting here at the city with Circles of Peace and yourself. And apparently, someone from the council had to put it on the council to request an increase to $3,000, which was the amount last year and the year before that. So I'm requesting that the amount be increased to $3,000 for this very important event that the community benefits every year.
Anybody else? No? Feel comfortable? Everybody? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Are we gonna make this a yearly thing, or is it was just 1 year? Because I know the one that put it up was Mr. Varona. It was a one-time deal, but
As they come in, if they come in next year, we'll look at it and treat them like any other event. And council can decide if they want it. I think at this time, staff has the authority to
so it'll be a year,
1,000. It
yearly
sounds like it'll be a yearly.
or every year.
May I?
All right, okay.
So it's 3,000 in kind every year?
It's in kind, it's not cash money.
Okay, right.
No cash money. Okay, C, discussion, direction, possible action supporting the proposed expansion and relocation of Santa Cruz County Animal Care and Control Center.
Okay, Mayor, I'd like to turn this over to Deputy City Manager John Kissinger. He's been working on this for quite a while. It's a good thing for the city.
Go ahead, Mr. Kissinger. I know you and I had a meeting with the county on this.
That's true, Mr. Mayor. The mayor invited me to go to a meeting with our county officials. We met with Jennifer St. John, Supervisor Bruce Bracker, and those two
That was it.
that we met with. And the mayor asked to talk about the expansion of the animal control
Yes.
center. The mayor had concerns that the current shelter was not large enough to accommodate the capacity of the animals that were going there. They were very receptive of the meeting, and they shared with us their plans of looking into converting the old juvenile detention center into a potential shelter and moving their shelter from where it's at currently over to the unused juvenile detention center. They have not brought that plan to fruition yet with funding and presented to the Board of Supervisors, but we're very encouraged by at least the conceptual portion of that plan, Mr. Mayor. And I think after looking at it, I think it extremely improves the services that would be provided as it relates to animal control.
Yes, well, one of the things I've been dealing with the Humane Society and the animal control for many years, and we've outgrown this one. I mean, not now. We've outgrown it many years ago, and I think we need to start taking care of our pets. We have a great park for the dogs, and it's being used a lot by residents in Nogales. And we need to take care and have a shelter where not only dogs but cats, with a veterinarian in there, with a place where they can be able to be visited by people for adoption, not just a shelter where they go put them in there and then either they euthanize them or find something else, ways of adopting them, because it's not proper what the dogs go through and the cats go through. And I think it's time for us to, we pay half of the money, just so you know, Vicky, for our service with the county every year. We pay them to run the shelter, close to $300,000, John. Is it a year? 280 some thousand? Algo así?
370?
370 is it now? Oh, it's gone up. Well, see, and we pay them to do the service. Actually, the animal control in the city of Nogales was run by the PD. In the city charter, you look at it, it's still there. It still exists. So if we're going to do something with the county, I think the county and us should get together and really work in having a shelter and a state-of-the-art shelter. Like, I'm not saying like the one Sierra Vista has, because that's, that is one of the best in southern Arizona, but something that we can have at least 50, 60 dogs in there, safe, and healthy and ready for adoption. Not like the one we have here. I don't think we can even have the shelters that we have here. I don't even think, I don't know, 15, 20 dogs or maybe. And in cramped conditions is not. And the employees in the county that are doing that, they're doing a great job trying to do what they do with that little building there. So the opportunities of the county helping us out with the juvenile detention center, that building, and a remodeling, not having to build something new, is great because the remodeling will probably cost less. I'm not saying it's going to be very, very inexpensive. It'll be expensive, but I think we need to wake up. We need to help our animals. We need to help our pets, and the community will, believe me, would be very grateful if we do that for our pets and animals and the opportunities for adoption for animals. So, members of the council, I think a ti te falta tu perrito, Hector, también. Did you get another one? No, you haven't. Okay. So my discussion and direction on this is for us not to lose track, and let's bring it back, and hopefully within the next month or two, the county can come back to us and have some type of draft on the proposed shelter there at the juvenile detention center. Another thing that the county manager said is that they're starting a fund. So community members and members of the council, members of the supervisors, and that they can go and get funding, and they have a special fund in the county that the money goes in there that can be building up also for the construction and the remodeling of this building. So it's something I think the community should know about that, and let's see if we can get people really interested in this and maybe get more community involvement on this. It's ridiculous. So that's my discussion on this, members of the council.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
before you move on, can I just ask a quick question?
Yes, go ahead.
And on the last item, the Circle of Peace. So what we talked about, what you all approved was $3,000 of in-kind service annually for the Circles of Peace Bicycle Classic, right? It's not just
3,000?
one time, it's every
Yeah.
every year.
3,000 total.
Total,
Yeah.
3,000 in-kind total. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Okay, number 10, consent agenda. Members of the council, we'll go in consent agenda, the liquor licenses, if you don't mind, A, B, and C. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Number 12, orders. A, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-051, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, authorizing the city manager to award a contract to the Nogales Wash Bank Erosion Protection near Produce Row Bridge.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. B, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-052, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, authorizing the purchase of a new 2022 John Deere 622G mortar grader for the Streets Department for a total of $360,199.21.
So move.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Yes.
Quick question.
Do you want to buy it used?
No.
Okay.
No, when can we expect delivery of this? Do we know when we can get this piece of equipment in, or?
I don't know, Juan, do you know?
I don't think this is like a fire truck. I think it's a lot easier to get.
A lot easier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr.
Because I know we're doing a lot of paving, a lot of street repairs, and with the water and all that, so I think we could really use it right now, right?
Yeah, I don't have a date at this time, but
I need to ask Alfonso and give you the answer later.
But it'll be in the near future, right? It's not going to be.
Yes, it will be in the near future. Yeah.
Okay, and the price is what we decided in our budget, right? It didn't go up?
Was a little bit up.
It's a little bit up,
Yeah, about 10,000 more.
about 10,000 more than what we had
Correct.
budgeted for, okay.
Same thing with the next item.
Yeah, everything's going up.
Everything's up.
Ahora so we better get,
Right.
before it's 20,000. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you, Juan.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying, do we vote on it? No. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. John, why are you looking at me like that, John? Oh, okay. All right.
He's looking at me like that too.
All right. Okay, now we go to B. No, that was B. C, consideration, possible action on order 2022-09-053, an order of the council of the City of Nogales authorizing the purchase of a new street broom sweeper for the streets department for a total of amount of $350,327.24.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question. We have two sweepers, right? And are they both operational or?
As a matter of fact, they were both down recently, and I think one of them was repaired. The other one's still going under repair.
Are we going to fix it or are we beyond that, Mr. Guerra?
Yeah, the reason that we are requesting this purchase, Councilman, is because we have been investing a lot of money in repairs since the day one that we acquired. And unfortunately, it's the same situation for ADAT and the Santa Cruz County, who acquired the same type of machines at the same time. Was a bad purchase.
Yeah.
So, but this new equipment will be better because I don't know if you have seen the roads how are clean. It is much worse than use the equipment than not do anything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? You guys have it. D, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-054, an order of the council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, authorizing the purchase of one new mini rear loader, 8-yard capacity for the sanitation department for a total amount of $161,901.80.
So move.
Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What?
We didn't hear a second.
You didn't hear a second? Yeah, Saulo said second. Yeah. Aye? Yes? Okay. Opposed? None. E, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-055, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales authorizing the purchase of two 2023 Ford Police Interceptors utility AWD K9 built vehicles from state contract for the total amount of $148,702.71.
So move.
Discussion. Go ahead, Councilman.
Mr. Dickey, I know that we're buying, I know these are special items, the police cars, and we buy them through the state contract. How about the other vehicles that we buy for the city? Are we still going through the state contract or are we buying local?
We find the best deal we can get, but yes, we go through the state contract first because we're on that. We look at that, and then if we can't find something or they're not available, then we look local. We try to look local if we can't get it on the state contract. That's what we've been doing.
Thank you.
Councilman, did you mean the tractors and the rooms?
Besides those special orders, police cars and all that, but just the regular trucks
Oh, the trucks? Oh, okay. All right.
in the city.
Okay. Yeah, they do have a state contract on that. You still have a state contract on that, ¿verdad? Todo. You have state contract, you go on for the vehicles, the trucks and everything like that. Yeah, okay. All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. F, consideration possible action on order 2022-09-056, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales authorizing the purchase of two. Is that the same one?
No, it's different. One was for, the other two were for K-9.
Oh, yeah, okay,
These are
all right.
regular patrol.
Yeah, all right. Patrol vehicles from state contract for the total amount of 139,361.71.
So move.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. G, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-057, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, amending the fiscal year 2023 salary range schedule, eliminating salary ranges 36 through 39, and amending job description to reflect the same effective January 1st, 1923.
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion.
Go ahead.
Could you give us a little refresher on that, Gene, please? On the, I believe it was going to be 85 employees that were going to be affected by this, or?
Yeah, I can,
Mr.
Gene, you can go, I'll just go what's in the staff summary here. So at the last meeting, during the August 9, 2022 council meeting, the mayor and council discussed raising the minimum hourly rate at which employees are compensated roughly to $14 an hour. Staff calculated the financial impact, and it was determined the request was feasible and sustainable. The mayor and council expressed concerns regarding competitive starting wages with the private sector, as well as retaining our workforce. During the August 9, 2022 council meeting, staff was given direction to amend the 2022-23 salary schedule and current job descriptions by eliminating ranges 36 through 39, and thus create a new starting minimum wage for the city of Nogales at a range of 40, which is $29,051.95, effective January 1st. So the total approximate cost to do this, implement this on January 1st would be, and we got to understand that this is dynamic. It changes every day. If people leave, new people come and stuff, but it's roughly $29,459.92. There's 37 employees in the general fund, which is an amount of $24,977.14. There's one employee in fleet management, $1,234.39. 9 employees in Nogales Public Housing for $3,248.40, which is the total of $29,459.92. That's for half a year, because it's January 1st. If you look at that for the full year, it's really an impact of roughly $60,000. And then council also at the same time discussed that we would bring back in the budget, looking to move the salary range even a little bit higher, the minimum wage. So we'll bring that back. At this time, we know this is sustainable. To go further, you know, if we go up a little more, starting July 1st, we'd have to look, and we'll discuss it during the budget workshops with council.
So everybody that comes in will be at range 40?
Yep, that'll be
The new hires, everybody will be?
everybody. That'll be, there won't be anything below that. That's the new range. The others are just dropped off. You can't go backwards.
Right.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's 47 employees, isn't it? You said 37?
37.
I got
And
37 that I'm reading here.
And 10,
If it's, 47 total. You're correct. 47 total.
yeah.
It is a moving target. That could be 50, it could be 42 by the time January 1st comes, because
Could be.
people leave, yeah, but that's basically what the impact. I mean, when we implement it, we'll know exactly.
Mr. Dickey, I know we're approving this today and it's not going to be effective until January 1st. Is there no retroactive pay for these employees, or?
Council, we did this based on January 1st. Council can do whatever they want. If they want to make it effective now
No.
or October 1st or whatever, but we budgeted, and this is what this reflects as January 1st.
Yeah, I was asking because it's, we're approving it today, but it's going to be effective January 1st.
Yeah, that's the order. Mhm.
All right, thank you.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
Why did you pick January as opposed to starting in October?
I think that was the discussion of council. We can't,
I'm just asking.
I think it was a discussion council, and also it's half year. It's just easy to put it together and, looking at a budget and you're adding more to a budget, it just made sense that January 1st you implement it. It's up to council if you want to do it earlier.
No, I realize that. I just was wondering because when we give salary increases to people, we give them effectively as soon as we approve them.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, we could have brought this in December
Yeah.
and did the order. We just thought we'd do it now. And maybe part of that is so you can think maybe you want to implement it sooner.
I prefer that they become effective in October because we've done it in the past when people get salary increases or people get bumped up, they get immediately, it becomes effective
Okay.
Immediately. So why not with these 47 employees?
I also believe that.
Okay.
I think we should do that.
Perfect. So whoever makes the motion can just say beginning October 1st or the first pay period in October, whatever's easiest for Gene, if you have
We
any
have to amend, we
comment.
have to amend this motion
Yeah, you
First one.
just have to amend it.
Yeah.
and then change the motion. Will you make the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. So who made the motion? You. Who was first and second? Who?
Mr. Bonilla was made a motion to approve the order.
Okay.
And Mr. Diaz.
Okay, so are you willing to amend your motion so we can change it? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Mrs. Montero, will you make the motion for
So-
October?
Sure. I make the motion to increase the salary of these 47 said employees effective next pay period.
Okay. The upcoming full
Upcoming.
period.
Yeah, coming
Okay.
pay period.
So that would
No?
be before
Oh.
October. It'd just be the
You tell
next
me.
pay period
Okay.
beginning.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
So what I think the councilwoman wants to do is take this order and put it into effect October 1st.
October.
Yeah.
Not just 47 employees. Right, October 1st, we change our pay our schedule.
Whatever employees are.
I know
yeah,
it will affect
it applies,
47.
yes,
but
47
the motion
employees.
isn't just to
Exactly.
47.
Yeah, thank you.
I think staff's clear on what
Okay.
council direction is.
All right, perfect.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? No? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. H, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-058, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, canvassing and declaring the results of the municipal primary election held on August 2nd, 2022.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. I, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-059, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, approving the sale of an isolated portion of city property commonly known as the Boy Scout Building to Nogales Unified School District, number 1, for nominal value.
Mayor, council, this is the one that John's been working hard on, and it will be a good thing for the city.
John wants to give it away for, I don't know, $10, John, or something like that. Yeah,
I negotiated up from 1.
you negotiated from 1 to 10? Good man, John. You're going to negotiate it. Okay, do I have a motion on this?
So moved,
Yeah.
Mayor. Yeah.
Yeah. Any discussion? No? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Good job, John. Consideration possible action of order 2022-09-060, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the U.S. section of the International Boundary and Water Commission for the operation and maintenance of the Nogales International Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Mayor, council, I think at this time we can turn this over to John Bullock. That's
Okay.
with us tonight. We want to kind of, there we go. We're going to turn this over to you, John.
So I'm here to present about the intergovernmental agreement for the operation and maintenance of the wastewater treatment plant. So just by way of background, last year, the city settled a long-standing dispute with IBWC relating to the costs of the operation and maintenance of the treatment plant. This agreement was born out of that process, and in my view, it cements the progress that we've made with IBWC as a result of those settlement negotiations. So this agreement specifically is what the city pays for treatment of wastewater at the Nogales Sanitation Treatment Plant. And we would ask the city council to approve the agreement. So I'm going to give a high-level overview of what's not in the agreement, what's in the agreement, major points, and then I'm going to run through some questions that the Director of Public Works gave me in advance of this hearing. So what's not in this agreement? One key thing to understand is that issues related to the IOI are not in this agreement. We've been working with Senator Sinema's office, and there's legislation that will be introduced soon to address those issues. And we're hoping to negotiate a separate agreement with IBWC for issues relating to the IOI, but that's not part of this agreement. Similarly, there's nothing relating to the Nogales wash that surrounds the IOI that is part of this agreement. So what is in this agreement? This is really about what does the city pay in connection with the treatment of wastewater at the plant, and who's responsible for what. So what is Nogales responsible for, and what is IBWC responsible for with respect to the operation and maintenance of the International Wastewater Treatment Plant. And so just so you all know, our focus going into this agreement, and I think IBWC has come around to this, is that the city should not be responsible, where feasible, for costs of wastewater treatment that are associated with the quality or quantity of Mexican wastewater, because there are issues with that wastewater that make the costs of wastewater treatment much more expensive than it would be otherwise if it was just the city sewage that was going through there. So major points, the IBWC will continue to bill the city based on the percentage of flows, based on flows. So what it actually contributes to the plant. That was, in our view, a big concession that we got during the settlement negotiations, and you'll see in the order summary, precise amount is determined, but so far, it's estimated to be about $300,000 decrease in costs annually, which we were very happy about. The agreement provides an option to the city to transfer to a per gallon treatment like rate. And we think that, maybe eventually that might be in the best interest of the city, because it would be better to be treated more like a rate payer than a co-owner, because there are a lot of expenses that come with being a co-owner that don't come with being a rate payer. And so in this agreement, if the city elects to eventually, transition to a flow-based rate, it won't have to contribute to capital contributions, which it currently does. The other big concession that we got from IBWC, which is related to our big principle about not paying for costs associated with Mexican wastewater, is that they conceded that we will be billed for the treatment of sludge as if the Mexican wastewater is not in there. And so they have to do this special expensive process to treat the sludge at the plant, and we won't be billed for that portion of the cost. It will be as if the treatment of sludge was just the city's portion. So I'm going to now go through a few of these questions, and then I'm happy to take any questions that you all have. So one of the questions was, are we going to continue to have problems related to the IOI after this agreement? And so this is kind of answered by my scope earlier, but this doesn't address it in the IOI. It says so in the agreement, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to get the legislation passed and a new deal in place with IBWC, but this really doesn't address that issue. So another question was, can IBWC encroach onto the city's wastewater treatment capacity without paying for it or without giving us notice? And the answer for that is the way that the parties have kind of come to an agreement on this is the city's just going to be based on its percentage of flow. And so that takes into account when Mexico, produces more wastewater into the plant, that reduces the city's percentage of flow. And a couple more questions just related to environmental liability. So does this agreement change or address whether the city is responsible for pollutants from Mexico? And the answer to that is no. Those issues are governed by the Clean Water Act permit. That's part of the plan, and that those issues are not part of this agreement. So that's basically the high level stuff. I'm sorry to bore you down in the details, but I'm happy to answer specific questions if you all have any. And I also want to thank John Kissinger and the new city attorney for helping me put this agreement together. Get us to this point.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Who monitors our flow? IBWC or? Because they hand us a bill, so I imagine, it's because they say so. Who monitors the city's flow? I mean, I imagine, because you just said IBWC will bill us, so our bill is based on what they tell us, or?
No, so it's actually based on an independent third party that the parties that will be as part of this agreement. And we have the opportunity to challenge those flow readings if we think that they're inaccurate as part of this agreement. And, Director of Public Works and other professionals within the city, I think, are aware of that and should be monitoring those to see if there's other issues related to inaccurate flows.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all? Do we have anything else, John?
No, sir.
No?
I'd like to have a vote.
Yes. Yes. I'm just wondering, okay. Okay, do we have a motion?
We need a
Yes, I was gonna say that. A motion? Bojorquez and Bonilla. First, 1 and 2. 1, 2. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, consideration possible action of order 2022-09-061, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, extending the moratorium of understanding with Mexican Baseball Fiesta LLC regarding the use of War Memorial Park for preseason exhibition professional baseball games for 2 years. Is there a second? Second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the ayes have it. 13, ordinances. This consideration possible action of ordinance O2022-09-001, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, amending City Code Chapter 5, Building and Building Regulations by adopting amended sections 5 through 26 and 5 through 27, adopting updated building and safety codes and standards by reference subject to local amendments of same as adopted herein. Okay, somebody explain this to me. Okay. Okay.
Mr. Paz is coming to the podium, and he's got a great explanation.
Good one.
Good evening. So this is a housekeeping ordinance. So we're pretty much updating the building code from 2012 to 2018. So that's really the gist of the ordinance. So the building code, the wildlife urban interface code, the energy code, we're pretty much bringing all those up to date from the 2012 to 2018. And so I think now we're facing that 10-year timeline where the codes we follow now are 10 years behind. And so most of our builders, most of our developers already reference that 2018 code, but we're still following the 2012 code. So that's the gist of the update.
Go ahead.
Is there a lot of changes to all these revisions, or?
It's pretty much the status quo from the last 2012. There's very minimal changes to the building and fire code sections. And so one of the things that we do is we review it to see if it's feasible, if it's going to add cost to development, is it going to burden development? And so we kind of follow those thoughts when we review the amendments.
Not going to cause any more headaches for builders and architects and everybody that calls City Hall?
Not any more than we have now, unfortunately. So we have to keep in mind that the building code is a safety code, right? So we have to at least follow the minimum.
Yes.
The minimum from the state and from most of our neighboring cities is 2018. So we're following, in line with Saurita, Sierra Vista, City of Tucson. They all follow those 2018 codes. So for example, Chipotle came in, wanted a building permit. They follow 2021 codes. And so we have to tell them, hey, you're too far ahead. Go back to the 2012. And so that's a usual comment that we have from developers and builders. They're already following that 2018 or 2021 building codes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Pulse, is the passcodes more rigorous or more difficult, or does it cost more?
I would say that the passcodes are usually have dated codes, right? So every update, the ICC, which is the authority body that accepts building codes and fire codes, safety codes, they address issues in the construction environment. So if there's issues with solar panels, new technologies, using sustainable technologies, they regulate those building codes. So they're actually looking at sustainability, energy use, water harvesting, those type of methods. And so I wouldn't consider the old codes to be difficult. I would say we're trying to advance our building technology. Yes, sir.
Sections 526 and 527, what do they read?
So I believe the reference to 526 and 527 is referring to the previous ordinance that was passed in 2015. So that was the code that really empowers the 2012 building codes. And so there's a section in there that allows us to update it and amend it as needed. And so that's what those sections are referring to.
So we're not referencing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
If we're gonna have an issue, pursuant to, oops, let me see if I get.
Yeah.
Pursuant to Section 8 of the Charter, you have to have 2 readings on ordinances. So you have to have 1 reading now, the first reading at the next meeting. But what you'll need to do right now, if you want to waive that second reading, go ahead and vote on waiving that second. We'll need a motion, a second, vote on waiving the second reading, and then you'll vote on this one, and then 30 days, it'll be enacted.
That's a unanimous vote. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
It has to be unanimous, correct?
Yeah. So we vote the first one and then waive it. Well, just waive it.
Well, no. So you'll first vote on the motion to waive the second reading.
Okay. Right then.
Yes.
Okay. I waive the second reading. Yeah. Second. All right.
Is it unanimous?
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Now you can vote.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Ordinance 001. Okay. B, consideration possible action of ordinance 2022-09-002, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, amending City Code Charter 10, Fire Prevention and Protection by amending Section 10-1 Codes and Standards to adopt 2018 International Fire Code by reference, and amending Sections 10-27 through 1030, 1046, 1063, 1066, 1087, 10107, 10108, and 10112 through 10114 to update various safety standards and enforcement provisions. Is there a second discussion? Can somebody come and talk to us about this?
Same thing on this ordinance. On
Okay.
any ordinance, you have to have the second reading waived.
Okay,
So it's,
let's have some discussion first before we go any further.
Hello, my name is Joe Polcari, Fire Marshal with Nogales. So we have been working with planning and zoning very closely on this. So the 2018 building code and 2018 fire code, the first 10 chapters are mostly fire and life safety. So they do mirror each other, even down to the code number. So that's why it's important that both of our codes, when we worked on this, are on the same path, so we don't have conflicting things. So the state fire marshal is kind of the minimum code in the state. So they, as of January, upgraded to the 2018 fire code. As of today, we're still 2012, so we're kind of chasing to catch up. And just like Mr. Paz brought up, a lot of our contractors come to me and say, hey, you guys are in Arizona, the minimum's 2018. We're 2012. So there's some conflicting stuff like that. And what it does is, I know you're probably going to ask what codes changed in it. So it pretty much changes to meet the current hazards. So a prime example of this would be food trucks. 2 years ago before COVID, 3 years ago before COVID, there wasn't many food trucks in this city. And their requirements are really no different than you bringing your grill out here and cooking. There isn't much at all. But obviously there are some hazards associated with that, just like a restaurant would. But the thing is, the 2012 fire code references a restaurant completely differently than a food truck. 2018 amended that, and now it looks at them the same. So you need your hood system for that grease lamp vapor to exhaust, so it doesn't coat those walls, which is highly flammable. A suppression system, which they did not need before, now they do. Another example of this would be the wildland urban interface part, and we did adopt the wildland interface code. So there's chapters in there that come directly out of the 2018 fire code. And you guys saw last year, we had that big fire at Meadow Hills. We got very lucky. We didn't burn any houses down. And part of that is because of that fire code, which has changed now to a defensible space. So instead of having grass and brush growing right up against your house, now we can tell homeowners, hey, you can't have that within 25 feet or 50 feet, depending on the hazard. And so it makes it a lot safer for our firefighters and obviously the community, because we do have, unfortunately, limited staffing compared to all those houses in Meadow Hills that we're trying to protect.
Okay. Another thing, John, those boxes that you got the keys?
The Knox box, correct.
Explain to us that.
Absolutely. So that's actually in the 2012 fire code as of right now. And I believe that was adopted by the city. But what it is, it's a metal key box. And it's not like going to Home Depot, just getting a $30 key box. The difference is they are UL 1037 rated, which is for theft resistance. So this is a talk me and the fire chief just had earlier. As of today, our key boxes are literally key boxes. So you use a metal key that goes in there. Knox has some special double cut keys, so it's actually cut on the sides and cut on the bottom. So it's not like your regular house key. These are proprietary keys, so I can't go to Home Depot and make a copy. They are serialized. The keys are serialized. We keep them locked up in our fire trucks right now. So there is some security with that. And they are also serialized. So I know each truck has this key number. So I can go every 2 weeks and check, say, okay, we have accountability for our keys. Or if we don't, I know in Tucson they had an issue where they lost a key. And now the problem is they're scrambling for the city to rekey all those Knox boxes. So you can kind of see some of the issues with that. Thankfully, Knox Company has made some changes, and this is what I was talking to the chief about, and they have what they call e-keys. So they're secured in the truck, similar to ours. The difference is with these Key Secure 6s, we know when the key's pulled out. It'll automatically give me a notification on my phone, and depending on the number. So right now, somebody can put the code in, pull the key out. We don't really know who it is as of today. But the secure key, you put your personal code in, kind of like not your social security number, but a unique identification number. And so I know who pulled that key out. I know when it got pulled out, and I know if it got put back in, and I can check that on my phone. The good thing too is worst case scenario, somebody loses a key. It's no good because that key, once you pull it out, you still have to put your code number in there for it to work on the boxes. So that's kind of about the key situation. I talked about the boxes a little bit and why we go with the Knox company, because it is a universal key for the city. Now, your next question is why we're doing this, why we're costing this upfront cost to the city. And it's a couple things. One is response times. So last night was a prime example. We had a fire on a power pole, and I was the first one to show up in my expedition with almost no forcible entry tools. I had bolt cutters, but the problem is that lock was recessed in. There's nothing I could do to open it. I drove around hoping they had another gate, maybe a Knox box, and we could just open it with the key and get in and make access. We didn't. The fire engine shows up. They're trying. We're spending time in the street trying to get into this gate. And then eventually we made the decision to pull the saw off. And at this point, I have an ambulance show up. Hey, what do you need us to do? We still don't have access to this. Go around and evacuate these houses. So you can see all this is buying time right now. And now the problem is we're pulling this off to do damage. And there's no way I can just lock this back up and leave. This is going to have damage. And that's a gate. Let's use a warehouse store. Let's use a business store. It's going to do a lot of damage. And now the problem is when we leave, that's going to be permanently open. And so I'm hoping I can get a hold of somebody, but if I can't, we're going to be sitting there a while. The nice thing with the Knox box is we have that key, so we can just simply unlock it. Also, when we do the Knox thing, we put in emergency contact information. So I know, and Hobby Lobby is a prime example of this. They've been having an issue with their alarm. I've been out there twice this summer. I have personally. The nice thing is when I show up, I go straight to the Knox box. I open the Knox box with the key that's locked up in my truck. I get the door open for the crew. I'm already on the phone with the building owner before the fire department shows up, so they know what's going on. Our crew goes in, does a quick search, sees that there's a problem. In best case scenario, there's not, and we can lock the building back up. I call the building owner back, let him know what happened, see if that's okay, and we leave. Worst case scenario, we'll look right down the street at the bank right here. Obviously, they've had a problem with their alarm system. We did not break their glass door, thankfully, but they have that wood on the door, and we had to get in there to check it because we had that legal obligation. And so we had to cut into the wood to go in there, and now we did damage. The building's not secured. It's a huge headache. To kind of even go further into this, what really frustrates me for the fire department is my goal is to provide safety to everybody in this community. And now the thing is we get an alarm activation at 3:30 in the morning. My crew shows up. I get a call at 3:30 in the morning. Hey, we have water coming out of the door of the building. We have an alarm activation. To me, that could be a fire. I'm pretty sure something set that sprinkler off. Something set that alarm off. Why are you calling me at 3:30 in the morning? Go in there and check. We called the building owner. They're refusing to come in. Now I have a building on each side of this. If somebody doesn't want us to go into their building, that's one thing. But now if that hazard extends to the buildings on the outside of that, now it just spread to an innocent person's building, and we should have intervened. So my two options at that point as a supervisor were to tell the crew, pack it up and go home, and we'll just leave it. Or we can get this off the truck and cut a big hole in that door and go in. So that's why I decided to go with to protect the buildings on the outside of that. Of course, as soon as the building owner saw us on their security cameras pulling this off the truck, I get a phone call, hey, don't do anything. I'll be there in 5 minutes. So that's kind of why we have the Knox box. That's kind of the background of it. And I know you're going to say it's not realistic to put this on every single building in the city, and I completely agree with you. So I do have a 3-page document. Unfortunately, I came ill prepared today. I'm sorry. But it highlights what buildings we need these on. We, as the fire department, to provide a higher level of service to the community. So like, I was doing an inspection. There's a strip mall over 750 Shell Drive. So there's a strip mall, the alarm panel is locked up. The riser room to shut off that sprinkler system is locked up. So if we get an alarm activation, I have no way to tell you which one of those 8 units over there by the wing place, which one of those 8 units has an alarm going off. And I can't tell you if it's one alarm, maybe it's a bad smoke detector, it happens. Or maybe it's several detector activations, maybe it's a water flow alarm, maybe it's something serious. And that's why it's important that we have this Knox box so we can access that. And that is in my literature also, and where to mount it.
is this going to be mandatory or is it voluntary?
Kind of both. So I do have buildings outlined that are specifically needed, and it's based on over so much square footage. So I think it's 12,000 square foot buildings or greater is what I put. Or if you have hazardous material, which we have, surprisingly doing this job, I had no clue how much hazardous material we store inside buildings here. So that would be a requirement. Or buildings with alarm panels, sprinkler systems, or elevators. In the elevators, we have a place in town that has a 3-story building, and we're out there every summer for people getting stuck in the elevator, and we don't have a key. Didn't have a key, we do now. And so something like that is why it's important.
So new buildings is going to be mandatory for new buildings?
As long as they meet that criteria. So if you're putting in, let's say you're putting a shed in behind your house, it's not going to be required. If you're putting in a 50,000 square, a 12,001 square foot warehouse, it will be required.
Okay.
So it just depends on the building at hand going in. And that's why we're not trying to get the small buildings, the low hazard buildings. It's more set for either the existing high hazard buildings or the high hazard buildings going in.
Is it going to come in on this if we approve it today, or is it going to be something new down the road?
So it's something we're already doing because it is in the fire code and it was adopted by the city. So that is something we have been doing. And obviously, as a fire marshal, it's my recommendation on all buildings, just because when you educate building owners that there is a box, we can do this, and it limits damage to their building, even the security after an incident. But the big thing too is the notification part. Unfortunately, I don't have a big enough folder to put all 2,000, just shy of 2,000 businesses, names, phone numbers, emergency contact in, and I don't. But if we have a Knox box, I put that in so I know who to contact now. A lot of this education on the front end, business owners or building owners, depending on, will agree to put it in. The big thing I am doing, and you've probably seen a few in town, is if you have a strip mall, especially as a building owner, if you have a strip mall, we're not asking for one on each unit. We're asking for one for the whole building. So at least we have some type of keys to get in. We have keys for the alarm panel, the sprinkler system, and we have emergency contact information.
And what's the cost of this, Chief?
So right now, the legacy key, which is the metal key we're using today, they're $500. It's $400 and some change, but with tax and shipping is where they get you. Metro Fire out of Tucson, fortunately now is a vendor, so you can go up to Tucson and pick it up and save almost $50 in shipping because they are very heavy duty boxes.
So the owner of the property needs to get it himself, or he goes through the fire department, or what?
Kind of both. So what happens is we give them that literature and all that's outlined in there on how to order it and who needs to order it. And then we also so I put 3 months on my paperwork. I don't think it has final approval. I can adjust that number to 6 months, at the discretion of the council, and I'm fine with that. But the building owner, and I say building owner, not the business owner, typically is the one to buy it, because what I don't want as a fire marshal is you buy it for your business, you close and move to another location. Now we're taking that Knox box and I got a bunch of keys in there I have to do something with. And that's what I don't want to do. So it is on the building owner to buy it, but it goes through the fire department to approve it. So what we do not want is somebody to make a mistake, order the box, say for Rio Rico or Tubec, or Sonoida. All these agencies have Knox box. And now you come to Nogales with a Sonoida Knox box, and we have nothing to do with it because they are individual keys for the agencies.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? Go ahead.
Well, have the learning experience.
I wish I knew I was doing this. I would have brought one in and my paperwork. I'm sorry.
So are you obligating the owners to buy into this?
Some of them. So obviously,
if you're obligating the owners, then the city kind of becomes liable. Is there any liability on the part of the city?
I think there's liability both ways. And I completely agree. And this is a talk I've had with other building owners is, well, what if somebody breaks in and steals my key?
Exactly.
So I do agree there is some liability on it. And that's why we do the Knox box, the UL 1037, because it is a heavy, the box itself weighs about 15 pounds versus you get something from Home Depot for $30, it weighs 2 pounds. That's why we do that. And also with the key system, it's harder to replicate. And then eventually, if we can go to the e-key, which is that electronic key, it is more security for the city. So that's why we are obligating that. But on the other side of that, we are responsible when we do damage. So if I show up to a business I break a door. Mr. Massey's not here, unfortunately. Mr. Massey was one of my first people. We had an apartment fire down the way on Boswick. And we show up, legit fire coming out of the door of one of the units. We broke 3 of the units to get people out. And now we're at potential liability for 3 doors.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. So it does go both ways, though.
Yeah. Is there any more discussion on this? No?
Thank you.
Okay. Should we have to waive it first, huh? Okay.
Second reading.
Well, a motion to waive the second reading. Got it? 1, 2. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Now we vote on the item. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, the mayor and council's report on current events. I'll start with me. August 11th, the governor of Sonora, Alfonso Durazo, the general Mexican consulate, Marco Moreno Vaz, visited with me and some administrators to discuss border issues and future projects. August 19th, participated in the ribbon cutting for the new Siegel building that will house AAA. August 22nd, met with county supervisors and animal control to discuss future animal control building. August 26th, dog park inauguration. And August 30th, September 1st, Arizona League of Cities and Towns Conference. Councilman.
Okay, on August 18th, I attended the officer promotions here at council chambers. August 30th to September 2, went to the National League of Cities event in Phoenix, which is it was very productive because I did a lot of networking. I even took Mr. Dickey on a couple of ventures out there, so we did pretty well. We also went to the mayor and I went to the Arizona Sonora Mega Region deal they had up there. On September 9th, I was a guest at Calabasas School with, it was Grandparents' Day, and I also was Veterans in the Classroom. That was pretty nice, being with all the kids and stuff. And did the 911 ceremony on Sunday. That was a great event. It was great speakers. Mayor outdid himself this time. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you.
That was a very, very well run presentation of remembrance on 911. And this coming Friday, I'd like to remind everybody, we're having our POWMIA Day right here in front of City Hall. We're going to have a brief ceremony there. It's going to be done by the BFW, by Commander Vasquez. And I'll be representing the mayor with the proclamation for POWMIA on Friday. So I hope to see a lot of people out there. And we're gearing up for November 11th, Veterans Day. So I'll keep you posted on that. Thank you very much.
Councilman Bonilla.
I also attended the officer promotion ceremony, the ribbon cutting for the dog park. Was interviewed by KGON Channel 9 on bank erosion and flooding issues for the city of Nogales, and I also attended the 9/11 ceremony.
Thank you. Councilman Bojorquez.
On August 10th, the first day of school at Challenger, and then I went to the GSA presentation of the Dickens Port of Entry, the expansion. And then follow-up meeting on August 15th, transportation presentation, Arizona Sonora Border Infrastructure Master Plan. On the 18th, I also attended the officer promotion and also attended the dog park opening. And attended the La Linea art exhibition at the old courthouse. And that same evening, the firefighters class of 2022 graduation ceremony at the Nogales High School football field. And on the
from August 30 to September 2nd. I also attended the League of Cities and Towns Annual Conference. And then I attended the 9/11 ceremony here at City Hall. Thank you very much. Councilmember Montiel.
Yeah, I just have one. I want to say happy birthday to Hilltop Gallery for 50 years on the Hill and for being an important part of our community. And want to thank Mrs. Weatherby and Janice Johnson, of course, for their hard work and all the past and present board members. It was a great event yesterday, and I believe you were there. Yeah, so thank you to Hilltop again for 50 years of servicing our community. Thank you.
Thank you
That's it.
very much. Future agenda items. Mr. Dickey, you have anything?
I just want to remind council that we're going to have a study session on October 28th at 10 a.m. We're going to be going over the ARPA funds and WIFA projects.
Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, Judge. Good job.